Hello, and thank you for tuning in to episode 5 of Off the Roll Podcast by STEK. Small things that can make a big difference in your business. Today I have with me John Kleven. For those of you that have listened prior, you may have already met John, but he is the current president of STEK and also the owner of Metropolitan Detail. And he is going to be one of 2 guests that join us on this week's episode. But we wanted to bring John in because he has done a phenomenal job of really creating Metropolitan Detail into a staple for the detailing industry, setting standards for people across our country and I believe even internationally as well. And so we wanted to really just kind of pick their brains, see if there's any small things that can go a long ways that are, again, simple, attainable, and approachable for you guys as a shop owner, or if you're even considering maybe opening your own shop. So before I talk too much, John, what is your role at Metropolitan Detail and/or what has been that transition from maybe day one to where you're at now?
Sure. Thank you. So my position at Metropolitan Detail has definitely evolved a lot over the years. So in the beginning, we were creating a new company in 2006, and we did everything. So it was myself, my business partner, Benjamin, who's also my partner here at STEK. And we laid the groundwork for Metropolitan Detail to be successful in terms of having very high quality to our customers and charging a fair price that is also profitable and also keeping a very clean workspace and being an approachable company for our customers. Mm-hmm. So now, after many years in being in business, it took us probably well over 10 years to get to the point where we are no longer in day-to-day in the business. So, and that process probably could have been expedited a little bit quicker with more thorough planning. But we really wanted to make sure Metropolitan Detail was set up in such a way that it kind of runs itself. And so we feel very happy and proud to have an excellent team. We have an excellent manager. Lee does a great job of running Metropolitan Detail just like we would, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's kind of taken on the reins, but you walk into our shop on any day, it's still filled with the same, supercars and hypercars. The shop is clean. People are in uniform, things like that.
Awesome. I think you touched on a lot of small things that we'll dive into just a little bit further. But what was, as you and Benjamin were kind of forming that foundation, what was one of those maybe fundamental things that you guys stayed true to that differentiated you from the competition? How did you kind of set the bar to become Metropolitan Detail? Sure.
So in the very beginning, we didn't have a fancy shop or a big budget. And so, but when we opened the shop, we made the shop as clean as it can possibly be. And from day one, we've always had uniforms, right? Mm-hmm. So when someone walks into our shop and they see that everyone's in uniform and the shop is spick and span clean, and we had good lighting in the shop, they would feel comfortable leaving their car with us.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's really simple, but it's kind of just like that, reading a book by its cover, that initial impression is super important. And if you're going to be leaving your investment there, whether that's run-of-the-mill daily or high-end exotic, you want to be comfortable that it's in a safe and good place.
Yep. So and once you can convince 1 or 2 or 3 people to leave their high-end vehicle in your shop, it's easy to get a 4th and a 5th. So if you have a shop that's loaded with, Porsches and Ferraris and Teslas, and someone else comes by with a Porsche, Ferrari, or Tesla, they're going to say, oh, yeah, this is the spot I want to leave my car. And price is going to be secondary at that point because they're leaving a car that could be $200,000, $300,000, $1 million, could be a very, very high-end car. Mm-hmm. And as long as they feel comfortable leaving that car, then price is secondary.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. And, we have another podcast on pricing and overcoming, some objections there and all that. But to your point, if the value is there, then that's really the secondary objection that they might have. So
yep.
That's awesome. And so as far as keeping the shop clean, I think that's a good goal. A lot of us in the industry know that, clean shop makes sense. We're cleaning cars, right? But I've walked into many shops where it's easy to get cluttered and to see that mess. So what were the steps that you guys had to take to actually deliver that cleanliness on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it all kind of comes down to a way of, I would say, almost franchising the business, right? So there is a place for our microfiber towels. and we have different ones. So we have a different towel for coatings, different towels for polishing. We have different microfiber towels to dry the vehicle. And these all have a place. All of our chemicals, they all have a place. And so whether that's on a shelf or in a toolbox or on a cart, however you choose to, run your business and based on the floor plan and everything else and all the space that you have, it needs to just be, and there needs to be a place for everything, and it needs to be the same on both sides of the shop, basically. So like if you have 5 employees and they all have their own cart, they all have the same products on every cart, and it looks clean, and they're not leaving bags of chips and soda on there, and like you have garbages for that, and there's really just needs to be a place for everything.
Absolutely. And I think that, again, just goes a long ways. If people have that expectation that, hey, this is where it does belong and where it needs to go when I'm done with it at the end of the day, or maybe that cleaning routine's at the start of the day, whatever that may be, as long as you have that education for your employees, they're going to be able to follow those steps. But, I think expecting people to see it the same way that you do is really difficult. And so you guys did a good job of paving that road kind of to set your staff up for success, right? We want you guys to follow this structure, this procedure, and we need you to put this back here, and you hold people accountable. What was, for the shop owners, I know, managing employees can be difficult. What was maybe some tools that you guys use to keep people accountable as far as those routines and tasks kind of go?
Well, one thing that we developed was a manual, basically, for our employees. And so the manual basically states how a car is washed, where all the products go. And so an expectation is set from the beginning that they don't leave messes around the shop. And man, this is such an important tool, because people will come to your shop and they want to see your front office, and you're talking to them, you're talking about products, you're talking about prices, and that's great. But when they're really sold on the job is when they walk in the shop, right? You want them to walk in the shop and see that, wow, this place is bright, it's clean, there's nice cars being worked on, and when they see that, they're going to feel much more comfortable. It's really about making your clients comfortable leaving their cars there. So because our services are not car washes, it's not a 30, 40-minute service. It's a 3 to 5 or even more days type of service, right? So making them comfortable to leave their car there, that's going to be the most critical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think without even directly pointing to it, that is maybe one of the most beneficial things you can do to help see increased sales and growth is have that transparency with your customers, build that relationship, rapport of here's my shop, and it's a space that you're welcome in because your car is going to be there, and you're going to be welcome when your car's in too. And that goes a really, really long ways to help maybe potentially see some growth. Was there anything else in your full time at Metropolitan Detail for many years? Was there anything else that you would want to pass on to another shop owner that just you're like single-handedly this helped us see growth, helped us earn that sale or get that customer, that business?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to, when I say franchise your business, I don't mean open second locations of your business, but have a plan in place so that you're opening the business, you're setting the standards for the business, but it's going to get passed on, right? And so if you have extremely arduous tasks or extremely technically complicated methods of polishing a car or ceramic coating a car, that's not ideal for long-term growth of your business. So if you use a ceramic coating that is reputable and the application process is easy, or a PPF, and you have you set standards of quality, and you do it and you keep replicating it time after time after time. Meaning, you don't. Let's say if you're wrapping Teslas, you don't like sometimes plot the car and sometimes freehand bulk the car based on your mood. Like it needs to be standardized. And that way, your employees who you hire are able to do your standard service. They don't need to be the jack of all trades. Now, it's great to have that person on staff, but you don't need that for your business to be successful. And ideally, you would set up processes for everything in your business so that one day you can step back, you can hire your management, you can hire your sales staff, and as great of a salesperson as everyone is who runs their own business, there's going to be people who are better. And you don't need to hold yourself back and say, I'll never be able to hire someone who can do what I do, because guess what? You can. You just have to somehow simplify or have a process for every service that you do so that it's achievable by other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was very well said. To your point, you guys are taking your expertise and your knowledge to build those structures. And as you're doing that, you're keeping in mind, well, let's keep this simple so that it can be repeated, and it can be repeated successfully so that each customer gets that same experience. And you come in for, a top-of-the-line wash or ceramic coating, they're going to be able to pick up their first car and then their second car and their third car, and they're all going to come off with that same result, right?
Yep.
Of perfectly done. So that's awesome. What was maybe one of the biggest hurdles as you guys are growing into this new business? Obviously, when you started 06, 08, that's a difficult time to start. But outside of just kind of those financial constraints, what, from maybe a staff employment level or even just a personal growth development direction for the business, where was one of your biggest challenges?
Sure. So employees are always going to be difficult. And what we've found is that employees want to do the right thing. They also want to make good money, and they deserve to make good money. So that being said, I think how we are paying our employees has changed from 2006. Mm-hmm. And when we first started, we would hire people, we'd pay them by the hour, and that seemed fine at the time, but it's honestly becomes less motivating. And I think it's more of a hustle culture time right now. And people want to make money for doing a good job. And it's very easy for someone, if they don't like their job, they can go do Uber Eats or do something that's very easy, not very hard on the brain and not very hard on your knees and back, and they can make decent money doing it. So I think keeping your employees highly motivated is very important. And I think the way to do that is to pay them in a way that they are rewarded for every job that they do. So if you have, let's say a $2,000 or $2,500 full front end wrap on a car, then you obviously have your shop expenses, you have your insurance and the products being used and everything else. But the employees, if they're just making their $25 an hour or whatever, they're not motivated to do more, to do better. And as long as everyone's on the same page that they want to make the customer happy, and someone is evaluating the work and making sure it meets your standard time after time after time, they're going to get a lot more work done if they are getting paid by the job. So if they're getting, let's say, 20% of a job, and they have an opportunity to finish that job early and bring in another car, or maybe come in on the weekend and do more cars, and they can make really, really great money, and that's only a benefit for your business as well. So I think keeping employees motivated has changed over the years, and it's always important that your employees feel financially comfortable, but also not comfortable in the way that they're not working hard because they're getting paid the same no matter what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Definitely. I think that can save from, in long tenure positions, people kind of check out and, lose the focus, lose the motivation. And so that leads me to my next question. What is that mentality that you've taken into the shop on the day-to-day, and has that mental focus changed from, your early days to where it is now? What is kind of your focus now versus where it started?
At Metropolitan Detail?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I do kind of help mentoring with Lee, our manager, and we talk every day. We talk about different, marketing advice, or, if he's having issues with, employees or customers or this or that. So, but he is still handling everything. right? So it's important for our customers to know that, I'm on the background, I'm trying to help, give you as much feedback and help as I can, but they're not emailing me, they're not calling me like the business was ran in the beginning. Now, our manager is the person to talk to, and I think they understand that. Mm-hmm. And it's a much clearer line of communication to work with someone who's there every single day versus myself who's in there for maybe a couple hours a day or less.
Absolutely. And do you work with Lee in terms of setting goals and kind of defining the direction for Metropolitan Detail, and what does that process look like for you? And do you have any clear goals for your shop over the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah, so definitely. So Lee is he is someone who is paid by on salary, but he also can make a commission based on profits for the business. So because he is the manager, he is looking out for not only the revenue of the business, but he's also looking out for expenses of the business. So he's making sure that we're not wasting money, our employees aren't wasting film or coatings or products, and we're not ordering things that are unnecessary or trying the latest and greatest just because they saw a TikTok ad for it, right?
Sure.
So he does a great job of making sure that we're spending money where it needs to be and making sure that the employees are happy and our customers are happy and the work is getting done properly. So
Awesome. Well, John, it is always a pleasure to sit on these podcasts with you, and we appreciate you giving us your time, and I hope that you guys can see how much jam-packed, amazing advice was in there as well. If you do have any other questions, John is totally reachable. You can either reach him at john@stek-usa.com or call Metropolitan Detail, because you never know when he might be at the shop.
Yep, absolutely. And I want to add something to this as well. So one thing that I think is very, very important to bring to your shop that is not even shop related is your own personal mental clarity. So one of the things that I do is I work out in the mornings, and that's I don't have time in the afternoon, I don't have time in the evening. I have kids' sport games and dinner and all this stuff, so I don't have time to do it after work. So I make time to do it in the morning. And when Metropolitan Detail, I've been doing this for years, when Metropolitan Detail opens at 8 o'clock, I would start my workout at 5 a.m. Mm-hmm. And that's not a time that a lot of people like to be around. But if you can get an early morning workout, you get a shower, you are shaved and ready to go, you are going to go to work, you're going to feel better, you're going to be more ready and awake and be able to get that big sale or get more work done, and it's going to be very important and very apparent in your mood amongst yourself and your employees and your customers. So I highly recommend that if you don't have a routine, make one. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be working out. It could be, it doesn't have to be lifting weights. It can be, doing a morning walk or whatever it is, but have some sort of a routine in your life so you have some sort of an accomplishment done before you make it into the shop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes back to one of my classic favorites, which is make your bed every morning, right? Before you leave, that's your initial accomplishment of the day is, hey, we're on track to be productive, bring our energy in and have a positive influence with those folks around us, right? They're helping us achieve our same goals. So,
yep, 100%.
Absolutely. Brings in new energy, more excitement, right? There's not just life, there's also me, and there's work, and all these things can come together to one beautiful picture.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll bring on Grant shortly. If you guys have any questions, again, please reach out anytime. John is always available and happy to talk. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We are now going to shift gears, and jump on a video call with Grant Menard from Menard's Premium Detailing. And for those of you that are in the industry, you may very well already know Grant, not only maybe his beautiful face, but also his name and the shop reputation that he's very quickly built. So we wanted to bring him on because we see him as really an industry expert. He's a businessman in trade and a car enthusiast by nature. So it's really the perfect combination to have these strong business skills and bridge that gap between guys that are just opening their shops and guys that are really rocking and rolling with their operation. So Grant, welcome on. We're glad to have you.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. So we're going to get going, but before I dive into the core questions, do you mind just giving a little bit of background for our listeners? What has been your background with Menard's Premium Detailing, and what has that process been for you kind of since just the quick elevator pitch in the last 5 years, if you will?
Yeah, 100%. So within the last 5 years, I started the business. So it came in 2018. Before that, basically around 2015, it was kind of a side job. I graduated from Penn State, got into the pharmaceutical industry, which is basically what my town is. It's all based around Johnson & Johnson and Merck. So I jumped into that industry because that's kind of what I was surrounded with, but detailing was always a side gig. And once I realized I really was not aligned with a lot that pharma does, much like most of the detailers in this industry, I kind of just fell into it and just started the business up. So I started the business in 2018 is when we went all in. We're on year 5 right now. We have 20 guys that work with us here at our facility, doing everything from obviously installing all your beautiful products, ceramic coatings, detailing. I have a couple other businesses that have launched. I work with Able, which is the awesome software system for our industry too. So I kind of have a little bit of everything going on, but right now I'm kind of just overseeing the operations at our facility with the 20 guys, but we have some incredible managers that are in place here that really see the vision and love to be part of it.
Awesome, man. Well, that's perfect. That already touched my next question too, which is what is your role now in the day-to-day? So that's perfect. You're supporting from an operational, visional standpoint, and I'm sure, actually, we were talking before recording here, where it's needed, you'll jump in and get your hands wet, whether that's helping customers or working on cars, I imagine.
Correct. Yeah, they've kind of coined me here as being the solutionist. So I put a couple hours in a week. It's been great because the facility does. I mean, no facility runs 100% of the time perfectly, but the majority of the time it does. So I kind of jump in when there is a problem. I'll jump in and say, okay, well, let's come up with the solution. So they've coined me as a solutionist now, which is kind of where I fall in. But where I'm needed, I'll definitely jump in. But most of the time, I'm just here to kind of support the team and what their needs are.
Be a motivator, if nothing else, to the team and support them in that way, right?
For sure, cool. 100%.
So how would you, as you're building your brand, how have you differentiated yourself from the local competition? Is there one thing or a couple things in particular that you feel you put a strong focus to that helped you see that initial growth?
Yeah, when we're talking about the customers specifically, so outside of like my own personal mindset or the mindset of the team and what we have here, from the customer side of things, definitely the experience that they get here. We are a customer experience-based company first, and we're a detail company second. So we want to make sure that every customer that comes into our front door, from the minute that they see the appearance and our brand awareness that they have here, which is super high-end, inviting, and fun, but the actual experience that they get, we always say that we want to provide them with the same experience that somebody does when they go to Disney for their first time. So when they're walking into Magic Kingdom, we want this place to be that, to have that same feeling when people walk in. And that's definitely excelled us and allowed us to go from being in my mom's garage to now having 20 people in, a couple of years, and having a super successful business. But we build relationships with every single person that are built off trust, 100%. It's built off, doing the high-end product, which is actually the detailing side of it, but also giving them an experience that they really aren't going to get anywhere else.
Excellent. Thanks, man. I really like the way that you presented that. I think your word choice is really thoughtful, but that just shows that is the level of echelon that you guys are bringing to the customers as well, right? You need to have that full experience. You're not just here to get your car washed. We're here to connect you with Menard's Premium Detailing and give you that, that whole experience.
And Michael, to that point too, is a lot of the guys in our industry are focused in on the end result, which is super important. 100%. Yeah. The end result of the actual product is extremely important because it's got to show, right? You can't just have a beautiful front office if the jobs that are coming out of it are subpar. So they do align themselves. But the reality is customers really cannot tell a big difference between my shop and the other 2 high-end shops in our area. If we're being completely transparent, we can tell the 2 to 3 or the 4% variance there, but customers really can't. But what customers can tell a difference is this person personable? Do I have a relationship with them? Are they picking up their phone? If I have a problem at any time, can I call them and reach out to them and then be able to handle it in the right way? So that's kind of where we've pulled ourselves out, is that customers can really come in every single day, call us their friends. They truly are our friends. We build relationships with every single one of them. We know when their kids are graduating college, when their kid went to the Little League World Series, and when somebody that's close to them passed away. So that's what's really allowed us to build our brand, is around the customer experience. And again, the product that's coming out is great. But for our industry, it's been product, not customer first. So that's kind of where we've changed that script a little bit, much like you guys do. You choose the customer first, and the product stands up to it, but the product is kind of secondary.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful, man. And would you say that that's really the biggest thing you've differentiated yourself with as far as like small steps? How did you kind of coach your staff to maintain that level of service? Obviously, you have this vision. You come from a background where you act this way, but how do you find people to grow that team?
Much like the customers that come in here, we wanted to build our team around kind of that same mindset. Like our team and our family at the end of the day, like the guys that are here, our work family, we wanted to make sure that the environment that we build here is super inviting, not just for the customers that are coming in, but also for our team. So doing the things like putting huge AC systems in and getting the floors epoxied and making sure they have a place that they can buy, that they can have lunch, and making sure that the environment's always clean, and having cleaning people come in and, although we're detailers, clean their workspaces for them, right? Give them beers at the end of every day. Like everyone is welcome to a beer at the end of every day, and we have company events too. So the same respect that we have for our customers, we actually have the same respect for our team, and our team actually comes first in my eyes. Most businesses are like customers are first. Well, without the team, there is no customer. So that's what we built, all 20 of us around it. We've built a really tight-knit group here that continues to grow. And it's really inviting too when somebody else comes in. Now it's hard work too, right? You got to prove yourself here. It's not just you just walk in and you're just welcome with open arms. You also got to prove yourself, which it is a proving ground, which is awesome. But at the same right too, when the big changes that we made was exactly that, was really truly focusing in on our team, build a great rapport with our team, a great environment that we really don't need to go out there and put, hey, we're hiring, we need. We have the ability that people are now coming to us because they want to be part of it, and we love being part of it too.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And kudos to you to be in that position. And in my experience with management, finding, quality individuals is really, really difficult. And what I'm gathering from all this is something that John touched on in our recording, was simply it builds trust and that confidence within not only yourself as the business owner and the, brand enthusiast, if you will, but also for your staff, also for those end user and customers. Everyone needs to be excited about working together with you. Everyone needs to be excited to come into work, and we can all be happy and enjoy doing it together. And I think that just makes it a lot more approachable. So if you can create that environment, absolutely. Why would you not want to drop off your car? I'm confident I can trust these guys. From the back of house to the front of house, everyone is rock solid. So that's huge. Yeah. When you approached your initial hiring, was this through relationships you'd already had established, or do you go to traditional means, LinkedIn, Indeed? Where do you source such qualified employees?
So we were super lucky. I found Jim Hutton, who is really well known in our industry. So Jim actually trained me when I was with a competitive ceramic coating company. He was the head trainer for them, and I found out that he lived about 30 minutes away from our shop. So when I came back, I was definitely not qualified to apply ceramic coatings. I still am unsure why I got accepted, but that's another story. So when Jim came back, we had our team. We had a couple guys at the time, about 3 of us, and I said, hey, why don't you come in? Can I just pay you on the side to teach our team how to apply the ceramic coatings properly? So Jim came in and started with a day or two, and then that transition. At that time, Mike, who's my right-hand man here in the front of house, he manages the front. Jim manages the rear. Mike was working with me since he's 16 years old. He now manages the whole front of shop. I call him Millionaire Mikey because the dude absolutely crushes the sales side of things and is incredible with the customer side of things too. But the quality of the team really came because it started with those two and myself. And we, again, kind of bring in very inviting environment to everybody, with also being kind of hard asses too on the end result, which is that quality. So people really respected us because we had that mindset, and the team kind of just came. Like, honestly, we did not go with LinkedIn. We did not go on to ZipRecruiter. I stay away from those. I just kind of opened the door in social media at the time. We got a really great following with Instagram. So between 2015 to 2019, we really grew our following on Instagram and kind of was sharing the ups and downs of our business. And we were open and honest, just like I am on this recording too. Like, there's really no thing that we hold back on. So, that kind of built the trust that people were like, okay, I want to go be part of that. Like, they're growing this business. They're open on it. They have a vision. They want to get it. They want to go after it. And that's what we've done consistently since, inception. So that's kind of where we build a team around that. People just kind of walk in the door or social media. Hey, are you hiring? On our website, we put, we have an open form on there that people can go and submit for our positions that are available at that time. But typically, Michael, I go on there, or our marketing team goes on. They say, job's available, who wants it, and then we have people that come in the door. But we choose the person.
Cool.
So I don't care what your background is. I don't care if you've had 15 years of experience. I don't care who you really are. All we care about is, are you a good fit for this environment based off you as a human? Are you a good person? Do you like to show up? Are you hardworking? That's kind of the requirements that we go after first. And then the secondary requirements are, can you do the job effectively?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can always train on those skills at the technical level, but you can't change who that person is, their personality or character, or something that they're showing up with and needs to mesh. So that's great.
Correct.
And good for you guys being able to build that platform where I think through your transparency, people are connecting with it, right? They're like, I like what Grant's vision is or Menard's vision, and we want to run with that. And I would love to be a part of that. So good for you for being courageous enough to open up and put yourself out in that vulnerable space.
I appreciate it. And we're open door policy too for everybody. Like if they have an idea, I want them to go after that idea. Like they're like, if somebody says I want to get into window tint, we might not be able to do it that exact moment, but we're going to make sure that we're going to start transitioning the business around to allow them to do what they want to do. No one's forced here to do what they're currently doing. Everyone has wanted that position. Awesome. So we're just kind of the open door policy, which at any time, including myself, I don't consider myself a boss. I don't consider myself a business owner. I am part of the team just like them. So everyone is held on the same standard. When I come into work, am I getting a raise? Do I deserve my job, or am I getting fired? Like I hold myself to the same standards as everybody else here, which has built that mutual respect across the board.
Awesome. Cool. Well, great for you. And I appreciate you opening up and sharing with us throughout, growing that team, opening the shop, building that customer base, the reputation. What has been one of the biggest challenge or hurdles that you've had to face along the way?
Yeah, I mean, as most people in the last couple of years, like COVID really crushed us for one specific reason. So our current facility that we're in right now, this is our third facility in our industrial park, but this is like our big expansion point. So we had outgrown our old facility about 18 months prior to moving into here. About a year after outgrowing it, this spot came available. So I spent about 6 months investing everything we had. And I'm talking like every last dime that we had into this place, because I knew it was the right move. I was willing to go all in. I'm an all in kind of guy. I don't just kind of
no pitter patter on the side.
Raindrops. No, screw that. Like I want an absolute thunderstorm when I'm going in. Like give me a hurricane. Okay. Don't just give me, you get the idea. So we went all in on this place, and can't make this up. When you signed our check, the money came out of the account. We were left with less than $5,000. Like when I say I went all in, I went all in. But it was a 6-month build out, and I knew we were getting into busy season. This is April. So I knew that we were getting into busy season, much like we're in right now. So I was like, okay, we'll be able to get the bank account up in the next 30 days and be completely fine. It's not like we're going into slow season. So fast forward 24 hours later, the world gets shut down, and I didn't have enough money to pay first month's rent at that time. So we really honed in, got the team in. And 3 weeks later, a client I'll never forget brought in his Carrera, his black Carrera S, gave us the $2,500 that we needed on that coating to really transition us into being able to pay our bills. And after that, we were, it was about a 6-week struggle. Like I'm talking like I was sweating, like liquidated everything to really keep this place alive, because the vision never left. So that was by far the biggest challenge, was that. And it wasn't just for me, it was for the team as well, because I really didn't know what the future was for them. I knew what the future, I had an idea. It wasn't that the pandemic scared me. It was, holy crap, we don't have any money. I got to pay my team. That was my main mindset from the beginning. But we got super lucky. But it was 6 weeks of sweating, crying, going to bed, with an unknown of what I was going to wake up to. But that taught us a lot. And it also taught me that going all in when you're put up against the wall like we were then, can still have incredible outcomes, which it has today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot to be said for those that did hold strong throughout that, kept their head down, and why other things weren't available, making the most of what was available, I think does do that for you. It creates that extra step, that avenue, the ladder, if you will, that you need to continue working towards your vision. So that's awesome. Yeah,
it was all in game. I love it. Don't play poker against me. I'm going to go all in every hand.
Yeah, no chance, man. So I want to wrap things up here a little bit, and really there's so much more we can go into, of course, but I think one I'm really interested in, and you already touched on really your mindset. You're an equal. When you go into the business, you're treating that as if it was not your own business, but you're an employee of someone else's. And what are those needs? Let's stay humble and, really just cater to support that team as a team member. So I think that's really unique, and that's hopefully something our listeners appreciate. So as you start off your business for shops that are just getting going, wanting to build staff, wanting to grow, how do you even begin to prioritize your time? Where do you know what's important when? And is there any really simple answer to that?
Yeah, I mean, I try to delegate 100% of everything.
Cool.
For the reason that if I was to ever leave, or if I tested that. I took a couple months off last year straight and just really wanted to see what the business was going to do, and it ran. I want to make sure that, like you always hear, I want a business to run on its own. Like, what's a business worth? At the end of the day, it's either we can have this business be a forever business where we're working in here till we're in our 50s, or this can be a business that we can grow, sell, and have some funds there that have some, a good old time with. Yeah. So I try to delegate everything. I've delegated about 98% of what's here, but it comes with a lot of risk there, and it comes with a lot of headaches. But if I'm not going to enjoy doing it, then why should I do it? Or if I'm not the best at doing it, that's something that you should delegate out. So, for instance, all the way down to bookkeeping. Like, I just don't want to bookkeep. Just something I don't want to do. So, is it something that the question is on that goes through the decision making is, if I don't want to do it, if it's not 100%, Grant's not going to have fun doing this, then it needs to be delegated out. Can it be internal? Can we keep it within the business? Or do we need to go external and outsource it? That question is, okay, can we keep it internal? Okay, well, let's look at the cost side of that and the time. Let's also look at the cost side of things being outsourced. And then which is the better outcome? Is it the outsourcing it to somebody that is an expert at it and that there really doesn't need to be much teaching and really doesn't have that much cost difference there? Or is it something that we can keep internal because somebody has an extra 10 hours a month that can delegate that task to them that they actually enjoy to do? Again, if they don't want to do it, sooner or later it's just going to trickle down to where we're outsourcing it anyway. So just get that completed at the beginning. But I try to outsource as much, or not outsource, I try to delegate and outsource as much as we possibly can to the expert in that field, much like paint protection film. Like, I obviously cannot install it. I'll be the first one to say, if I'm an installer, you guys are going to pull me off the map immediately if I'm installing that stuff, because it's just not up to standards there. And if we're not keeping, that's the other side too, if we're not keeping up to the Menard standard, then do we need to bring an expert in to train, to teach, or do we need to hire somebody else to really do that? But what's it going to take to get to that Menard standard? And then we can delegate that out. So I know I'm not good at paint protection film, but we have 5 guys that absolutely love to do it. They love coming in every single day, or most of the days, and installing film. So that's kind of how we've really scaled the business to where we are today, was because I've delegated so much out. That's how we've been able to hire 20 people and have, probably another 10 that we outsource a lot of things to. If we're not the best at it, can we become the best at it? If the answer is no, or we don't want to do it, then who do we outsource it to, and who's the best at doing that?
Yeah. Wow, man. Well, that is, I think, a very unique approach. Obviously, delegation, I have found in my own work and just workload that it is absolutely important. And to your point, not just because I enjoy it or not, I'll suffer through some of that hard work, right? We all got to. But ultimately, if I'm not the best at it, someone else can do it in less time and have a better result. And so that's where you're going to create those efficiencies. And that's where the end product's a lot more valuable. The person doing it probably enjoyed it more than whoever you had assigned to it that's not naturally talented at it, or whatever it may be. So I think that's a really, really strong point there.
Yeah, and one more thing to that too, Michael, is that there's only 40 hours in my work week and everyone else's work week here. So I'm not going to go and I do not expect them to go and put overtime in to something. So when we start hiring, if we start pushing into, someone's like 4 or 5 people within that same within our business have about 5 hours of overtime, we know that's about 20 to 25 hours of overtime. We need to hire somebody now. We need to get somebody in the door to manage that overtime, to make sure that we catch up, or that we're ahead of it before everybody's burnt out, which you hear all the time. So working 80 hours ain't sexy. Working till 2 o'clock in the morning, heck no. It ain't sexy and it ain't healthy. So that's the other side of it too, that we have the respect. 40-hour work weeks, sure, some have to be 45. Sure, sometimes we really have to push and hit 50 here and there. Here and there meaning maybe once a quarter, maybe twice a year, right? It's not an everyday thing. So the reason that we have such a big team is because everyone, we have about 80 or 800 billable hours, 800 billable hours per week that we want to make sure that they are delegated and defined perfectly to the team as a whole.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate how you broke that down, and I hope our listeners do as well. There's so much good knowledge, information that you shared, and I think even points that we didn't specifically call out, but all of which have good context and people can derive a lot of important knowledge from. So, Grant, I want to thank you again for your time. Is there any last remark, any last piece of advice you would give to a lot of the shop owners or car enthusiasts tuning in?
Yeah, so make sure that you guys have a phenomenal reputation, whoever that might be. Like, reputation comes first, especially when people are looking at what shop to choose. You want to be trustworthy. You want to have a great reputation. You want to be there for the people just like they are there for you. This industry was and started as, the end result. What's the end result? But it's really turned around to be something that's much more powerful than that, which is a relationship-based business and industry as a whole. So for any guys that are out there, any customers that are looking at, just find a place that you jive with. If you don't jive with them, just go your separate ways. You can say no. You don't have to say yes to everything. If you don't want to do a job or don't believe that the outcomes are going to be to your standard, then just say no, as hard as it is. And I was there too, where I had $0 in the bank account when we were growing this place, and I had to turn business away. But that was also the most powerful thing that I did too, because I turned business away that wasn't going to be our cheerleaders at the end of the day, or wasn't going to be held up to our own standards. So find a shop and a team, that you really like, and be that shop and that team that people really like. Do awesome work and just have a really great relationship. If you have that, you're bound for success.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Grant. Well, couldn't have said it better myself, which is exactly why we brought you on, sir. So thanks again so much for the time. If anyone has questions, we will link your contact into the descriptions. And if you're ever in the greater Pennsylvania area, definitely swing by to check out Menard's Premium Detailing. Thank you, Grant. And thank you to all of you guys for tuning in to episode 5 of Off the Roll Podcast, small things that can make a big difference in your business. Catch you on the next one.